Hey guys, welcome back yet again to another episode of the film scene. And today's guest is Alex. And as the tradition dictates, over to you, Alex, to introduce yourself.
Hey, thanks, Rooks. So my name is Alex Ranahan. I'm an actor, director, and a presenter from the UK. I do a lot of different creative work, but the kind of thing where you only really see that you're on a path when you connect the dots looking back. So I've been very fortunate to work in a lot of different ways, be it with it being film, stage, radio, voiceover, and even children's entertaining. And from that, I've been able to take a plethora of different approaches to create a somewhat pretty fun career.
Yeah, it's a very, very diverse career. So I have to ask, like, what was the first project you did? Like, what was it? Like, was it acting, directing, or something else? I'm
Uh,
curious
so
now.
during education you do several different things like I would write kind of short plays as part of doing drama, and I'd kind of write short stories when I was younger, but the first professional gig now, for any international listeners or viewers, in the UK pantomime is massive. Every Christmas we have all these different shows where like people dress up in flamboyant costumes, and the audience partakes in kind of to and fro, like oh no you won't, and that kind of thing. Like we
Oh,
they shout back at us. It's crazy. Anyone listening,
nice.
look it up. In the UK it's huge. And my first professional gig, I was playing Dame Dimmer. It was a Southwest pantomime dame, and I dressed up in this big outfit. I was playing this woman with a horrendous amount of makeup on,
Oh my
and
God.
I used to go onto the stage and I shout out to the audience. I go, "All right, my lovers," and then they had to shout back to me like, "All right, Dame Dimmer." And I spent a lot of time
Oh
looking for
wow.
chicken Kievs. That was our version of custard pies in the face. But yeah, look it up, folks. It's a real British tradition.
So is it like, would you say it's like interactive theater? Something similar?
Massively. So
I'm
I'll
sorry, I
give you an
haven't heard
example.
about it.
No, so British pantomime is massive in the UK. So what it is at Christmas, all the families go out and there'll be a show which is all about like a fable or a fairy tale. So think of your Cinderella, your Beauty and the Beast, quite a lot of the old Disney classics if you think about it.
Oh, nice.
And what will happen is that we all know that there's a very basic story. You get some celebrities or you get very creative actors on, and there'll be comedy sketches chucked in, there'll be songs chucked in, and also there'll be a dame or a comic stooge that will work with the audience, to remind them of where we are in the story and to get them to join in a sing song. It
Wow.
is very interactive, it's very lighthearted, and it's very silly.
Oh, that sounds really exciting. It sounds you said it's like during Christmas?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's massive during Christmas. Like a lot of theatrical businesses will make their money at Christmas. Do a
Mm.
pantomime, it will always sell. And then sometimes you might get an Easter pantomime. I don't know what the tradition is behind that. Maybe it's linked
Mm.
to Christianity, but you might get a few touring companies that do a an Easter pantomime. But if you ask anyone in the UK about panto, they will always talk about the Christmas one, and I guarantee
Oh.
that they will know what we're on about here.
Well, I think like that's the thing I'm gonna Google after this chat because it sounds very interesting. It must be really fun as a performer, isn't it? Like to have like that sort of energy from the audience. I think it as a stage performer, it really like boosts your performance, doesn't it?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate. I do a lot of presenting. I do a lot of game show presenting. Yesterday I was doing a team building a conference where we built scooters. The day before that I was doing a horse racing event where they got drunk and my job was to G them up and make them go
Wow.
mental, which is it was amazing. We had like a
Amazing.
spontaneous auction where people were trying to bribe me and the team by bringing us vinegar,
Ooh.
wine, candlesticks, anything in the room. It
Ooh.
was great. And I'm very blessed that from working in Panto and also from doing the game show presenting, I get to work with the audience where, instead of it being, hey, I'm the performer, come love me, it's
Mm.
not that at all. It's I'm gonna create a space where you are now part of the gig. You're not part of the event. We have creativity, we have fun. It becomes a collaboration between the participants. So they're
Yeah.
not an audience anymore. They're now participants, and me as the steward, if you will. So without them knowing it, I'll create a bit of a corner response into the event. So I'll come on and I'll be like, "Hey, my name is Alex, but you can call me Al. What can you call me? Al. Brilliant."
Oh
So
yeah.
already have primed them in the first minute that they're now part of this experience and not spectators.
Yeah, I think
And
yeah.
that means that when we create something together, it becomes a lot more ownership to them as opposed to me.
Yeah, no, I think that's like really amazing because when audience like become a part of something, the experience becomes like way more immersive, and I think like that attracts the audience even more. And like I think like they connect to you on some sort of a personal level. So that is exciting. So you said game show hosting and stuff. So tell me more about that.
So
How's that?
during COVID, so just before COVID, I made a proof of concept for a comedy. So I spent a year learning how to do comedy. Sent it
Wow.
to Channel 4 in the UK. They had a production, they had a scheme called Comedy Blaps, but I sent it on the day that the UK went into lockdown. Now, when that happened, a whole year of work just disappeared.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I had to start again as a facilitator, as a workshop facilitator, because that was what I was doing just before then when I was working in China. And I was headhunted to be a virtual event host. Now, I thought that they wanted me to come in and facilitate a workshop. Turns out they didn't. It was actually an escape room, and
Oh,
they wanted someone to help to make the event flow. But the thing is, everyone was really awkward because these were the early days of everyone getting onto Zoom.
yeah.
And so I just naturally led the whole thing. Turns out I was good at it. So then
Hmm.
I went into hosting virtual events because during COVID there was a massive demand for people online. And then
Yeah.
it found that people wanted to do quizzes, they wanted to do game shows, they wanted to do bingo as well. Bingo was massive. And then from then I
Hmm.
got into hosting game shows on Zoom for team building events as well. Or you might get a corporate
Yeah.
away day or an entertainment gathering. Well, I'll come in as a master of ceremonies and I'll entertain people whilst also using it as an opportunity for people to bond together. Because the thing is that
Yeah.
with the game shows that I do, these aren't the kind of things where you just rock up because you've chosen to go. It's all in the corporate
Definitely.
landscape, which means that
Hmm.
people have been voluntold to go. And so
Ah,
my job,
yeah.
instead of it being I'm going to give you an amazing time, it's
Yeah.
I'm going to give you an experience that you can all talk about but feels organic because you have created this experience yourself, but
Yeah.
I've given you the platform to do so. So there's a lot of different layers of psychology in it. Whilst on the surface, it's me
Mhm.
just rocking up, being like, "Hey, everybody, we're gonna do a quiz."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot going on there, right? There's a
Yeah, no,
lot to
I'm like,
unpack just in a
yeah, I'm
simple
trying to
thing.
think, like, yeah, what's happening? Yeah, no, no, but yeah. No, so, virtual games, like, how different is it, like, from like a regular, like, hosting in person?
That's a very good question because there is a psychological barrier when you're hosting over the internet over a virtual event. So we've all suffered from Zoom fatigue, okay?
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
when I'm on other people's gigs, I love to see how they do things, but even I go, look, things are slower. I'm not feeling your energy. There's this barrier, and also I'm distracted by 100 different things. I can work whilst pretending to listen. Just nod your head a couple of times, and they won't know. And so when you're doing a virtual event, there's three things that I like to take into mind. The first one is that it's very technical. So whilst I'm talking to you, I'm monitoring the chat. I'm getting people to use emojis. I'm making sure that people are able to get in and out of the room. So I'm being a facilitator, a technician,
Hmm.
and a presenter all in one.
Pretty
The
tough.
second difference is that because it's not in person and you're only seeing ahead, your job, instead of it being to wow people, is to try to engage people and get them to be part of the fun. Because otherwise, they're going to switch off
Definitely.
because there's that barrier. But the
Yeah.
third thing, and I think it's the most
Mhm.
crucial, is that it's a bit more rudimentary because, I'll be playing a game, a professional game. People have paid hundreds of pounds, and it would
Oh,
be a glorified PowerPoint presentation. And so as a result of that, there's a kind of cheesy aspect to it where we all know that this isn't like the Ritz, this isn't the Ivy,
yeah.
this isn't a massive conference. But by the same time, it makes it a bit more vulnerable because it's, hey, look, this is a connection between you and I. We're doing
Yeah.
something which seems quite on the level as opposed to it being razzle dazzle, if you excuse the term. And so as a result of that, there needs to be a bit more of a human element as opposed to trying to play a room of about 500 people.
Yeah. Oh, 500.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, you can. Yeah,
oh,
so if I do a conference, you might get a couple of hundred people.
wow.
If I'm
Okay.
doing a Zoom call, most of the time the numbers are around about 30. But yeah, you can get into the hundreds. During Christmas, I'd have orders that were well over 100. And so
Wow.
with that kind of calamity and chaos, if you will, it means that instead of kind of just getting through it, your job is to find ways to spark imagination in different people. Because
Yeah.
as soon as one person gets excited, they might change their background. They might send you an emoji. That then creates a space where the society, the culture we've just created means it's comfortable to do so. And that
Mm.
means that someone else would go, oh, well, hang on a minute. I can change my background too. I can play up without feeling like I'm being
Yeah.
stared at. So it's a whole different medium. Like I'm when I'm on a call, I'm quiet. You wouldn't believe it. I'm quiet when I'm on a call because I
Mhm.
like to listen instead of drawing
Yeah.
attention to myself. But when it becomes the kind of call where suddenly people are changing their backgrounds, putting jokes in the chat, drawing attention to themselves without it being dramatic or me, suddenly I have permission to step forward and go, I wanted to say something, but I wanted to wait my turn, which is a very British thing. Like we love queuing. It's widely known. Talk to us about the weather, talk to us about queuing. And so when you create a culture very quickly where the rules are just have fun, people
Mm.
can suddenly feel that they're themselves without feeling like they're trying to draw attention to themselves.
Yeah, no, I think like that's very interesting. And I'm like thinking of one thing like when you said there's like 30 people or sometimes even hundreds, it must be difficult to like keep track of everyone, or can you like actually see everyone on your screen? I have never done it, so I don't know how it works.
So here's the big question. Now, I hope no one from any of the other companies listen to this, but Zoom is the best way that you can see everyone at the same time. So if you go
Oh,
into gallery mode, you can see everyone that's on the call. Depending on your settings, it might be if you've got more than 50 people on a call, you then need to go between the different screens. But what I can do is if I want to keep track of all the people that are going at the same time, then first of all, what I do is I'll open up the chat and I'll encourage people to do something that isn't very much of a commitment, but it's a way of checking in and participating so that I know that they're awake and listening. So I'll ask someone, what's your favorite dessert? Because most people, myself included, love talking about desserts, and it means you can
definitely.
get people chatting like tres leche cake, different types of cheesecakes, or maybe
Oh,
you're a savory person.
mm,
Then what you can do is by seeing all the people at the same time, you can swap between the different screens and you can make a note of anyone that's not really engaging. You can see they're working. You can see they've got a very melancholy attire on them.
mm.
And then what I can do is I can drag and drop them onto my screen so I can keep an eye on them just in case I need to call them out and compliment them for something they've done. Like for example, hey, I just want to say that Melanie, I'm loving the background by the way. Nice work over there.
Yeah,
Because suddenly Melanie sees it feels seen without having to do anything. And that means it is now safe for them to be as they are. If they want to join in, fantastic. If they don't, that's fine as
no
well.
pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think when you're doing a big event in person, the
Hmm.
extroverts will always be seen because you don't need to ask who's extrovert. We will tell you, it's the
Yeah,
person with their hand up in class. But with the
definitely.
introverts, especially in a corporate landscape, the introverts feel that look, it takes a little bit longer for their thoughts to come out. They want to get
Mm,
things right. They don't necessarily want to draw attention to themselves, but I still want them to participate rather than be an audience. And so that means that
definitely.
I need to find a way to see them in a broad surrounding without it feeling like I'm picking on them. Like we've all been on
Yeah,
a Zoom call where you get spotlighted and you go, "Oh no, look, I can see my
that
blemishes,
was a bit
my
tricky.
hair, etc." Yeah. So
Yeah.
instead, it's just finding a way to praise people. So I might be like, "All right, so folks, we're gonna move on to our next part of the game. But if you're ready to rock and roll, give me a thumbs up over here." And then I'll
Mm.
be like, "All right, Jamie, I see you over there. Kate, Alan, fantastic work over there. Derek, I gotta say, you've brought your dog to the screen. You'd be barking mad not to. In fact, folks, bring your pets to the screen. I wanna have a shout out to all
Oh, that's
our
nice.
Peach
That's
friends over
actually
there.
really nice.
It's imagine that you're in a get together of your best mates.
Mm.
How do you give everyone a chance to speak? How do you give everyone a chance to shine without having that awkward silence and without there being someone dominating?
Mm, definitely. Yeah, I think like that's probably as a host, that's the biggest challenge for you, or to like make sure like everyone is included, but also be considerate of everyone's like personality, I guess, and not force people into uncomfortable situations. So, one thing I have to ask is like on these sort of events, on these calls, is there like a rule that your video must be on, or like are there people who can turn their videos off and just be there? Is
That's
that?
So it depends on the corporate culture. So one of the biggest issues is trying to get people to engage when they've been voluntold to go to an event. And so what will happen is that I cannot force you to turn your webcam on. I've been there myself. When I first started out, I'd feel anxious when I was on a call that people would be looking at me. They might be judging me for my energy or the state of my house or how I look,
Mm.
etc. And so what I do is I say, look, you do not have to have your webcam on. However, we're all in this together, and sharing is caring. And so what I do is I might give up points if you turn your webcam on. I might get people to show me emojis that they're with me. So then, on Zoom you've got the ability to react, which then might flood your screen as I've done right now, so to give people an
Oh,
opportunity to
there are little
engage.
rockets, yeah.
But let's say that I turn my webcam off, okay? Then and I
Yeah.
don't want to turn it on. Then I'll be like, okay, so folks, you don't have to turn your webcam on if you don't want to, but just let me know that you're with me by just putting a little emoji up
Oh,
over
okay,
there.
there we go. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel kind of weird, like, like I mean, obviously it's probably because it's just the two of us. But yeah, because I did notice like I did a lot of online lectures. They're like lectures, but the exact sorry, the professor sometimes did feel weird when people had like turned their cameras off. So does it like affect your energy or your mood? Do you feel like oh, it's like I'm talking to just blank screens, and does it affect the way you present or something?
No, it does. So let's take this back to the pantomime that we were speaking about earlier.
Mhm.
So with the pantomime, it's a collaboration between the audience who now become participants. When people have, I've done probably over 1,000 events. I've done a lot of events. You
Wow.
can tell there's some of the events. There'll be people that don't want to be here. They're doing work behind the screens. They turn the webcam off, they turn the microphone off, and it's a dead event. And you might as well be talking to yourself. It's
Oh.
even worse than that because with there being the psychological barrier, there is an ether. And we as humans have a compulsion to feel the ether in the same way that we feel subconsciously that everything that we say has to have merit, and that's why we keep on talking when we're in a
Mm-hmm.
conversation because we feel that we've got so much value to give. So what will happen is that there'll be this dead space, and I will try to coax people very gently through small steps of integration. So if I can get you to make a small commitment, such as, okay, let me know in the chat where you're from. If people don't do that, okay, give me a thumbs up behind the screen just so that I know you're with me. Very small things. If they're not even doing that, then there isn't very much to work with. So then I have
Yeah.
incentives of, please turn your webcam on, and I'll not please turn, never ask. They don't have to. They can choose to do as they wish. No one's forcing anything. So I will, offer the incentive of points. If none of that happens, then my job is to just try to figure out what energy level they might be at. So they probably
Mm-hmm.
don't want someone going, "Hey guys, welcome to today's show. Now this is what we're going to be doing." They probably just want, "Hey,
Mm.
so just to let you know, it's okay if you're feeling shy. What we're going to do today is, look, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do. I implore you, give it a shot, see if that fits, and we'll take it from there. But of course, you wouldn't say take them from there, if it feels like there's a problem.
Yeah.
But in terms of the energy, all you can do then is just ground your feet so that you don't get in your head. You're still trying to serve, you're still trying to form a connection. Just
Mm.
look down the barrel of the webcam so then you can create that psychological aspect of a human being connection. The same way as when we watch film and TV, we
Mm.
start to feel like we know our actors because we have that close-up shot. The same
Yeah.
as you and I are having a conversation right now. To me, it feels like I'm in the room with you because of the way that this is framed. If you were stood
Okay.
further away, it wouldn't have that psychological aspect.
All right. So
Um,
if I step further away, the distance?
So yeah, so
Okay.
an example of that would be that
Mm.
if let's say that we're in a room full of people, right? Room full of
Yeah.
people, and they're further away, we don't see them as much, we don't connect with them as much as we would with someone being straightforward to us, simply because the way that our brain works is that we mirror what is immediately in front of us. You got the
Yeah.
motor neuron effect. And so when I view you close up, it feels as if I am talking to myself the same way as I would be in a mirror. And
Mm.
so by doing so, we create a little bit more of a rapport. That's why if people say if you go to like a masterclass on Zoom, for example,
Hmm.
they'll say that you should have kind of just you don't want to have a floating head. You want to have the head and shoulders as it is now. So then that they can
Right.
see that there is the rest of the body there. So the brain can fill in that a human being is in front of you. But if we
Oh,
had it
okay.
zoomed in really tight on your face, you
Mhm.
wouldn't feel as if you're able to recognize a human because we need the rest of the image to be able to make up the information.
Personal, like if I'm like too close, I just feel a bit, I don't know, claustrophobic for some reason. It just feels too tight, I guess. But yeah, no, I see where you're getting at. Like it's very interesting. Like that's how framing and shots and camera angles work in filmmaking too. So I didn't know like this is how I generally go, but I didn't realize like it creates that sort of effect on the podcast. So that's like yeah, that's very interesting to know. So yeah, we have talked a lot about, your hosting and stuff. I would love to know, like, is there any other projects that you've done? Like you said, you're a director, actor. So is there any other project you have done recently?
Yeah, so I try to be careful of not being jack of all trades, master of none.
Mm.
And what I try to do is I try to cross-pollinate, if you will, and take a little bit of different things to be able to create a more cohesive whole. So, for example, in just talking about the hosting, you notice there's been aspects of psychology, there's been aspects of directing and editing, just little things there. So I try to keep my hand in things that would teach me something that then makes a bit more of a niche. So,
Mm.
at the moment, the kind of projects that I'm working on, a lot of it is hosting. So
Mhm.
for example, I might be going out to Portugal. I think it's not next week, it's the week after, to help
Oh,
people build hovercrafts. So that'd be cool.
yeah.
In terms of acting, I'm waiting to get the rushes back from a a how do I word this? A direct to TV film. That's probably the best way to word
Mm.
it. But
Telefilm.
in terms of future endeavors, the main thing that I'm doing at the moment is actually taking a step back from making a creative output, and instead
Mm.
focusing on, well, what is the foundation behind where I go next? Because
Mm.
it's when we as creatives, there's we always want to create, we always want to have that artist aspect of us to put
Yeah.
out into the world. But there's also, and maybe I'm speaking just on behalf of myself here, but there's also that feeling of being enough or going on to the next thing, almost as if whatever you do should be progressive, it should be telic, it should be that it
Mm.
creates some form of an output that has a cause and effect, as opposed to
Mm.
creating art for art's sake because we enjoy it. And so at the moment, I'm
Yeah.
taking a step back to evaluate, well, why do I do what I do? What is the real reason behind this? Is it a need to belong? Is it because I just enjoy creating things and connecting with people?
Yeah.
And the reason behind that is, as with the podcast that we're doing right now,
Hmm.
that then means that I'm able to figure out what is it that I'm able to give to someone else? Who am I able to serve better? Because instead of it being, I'm going to do comedy, directing, and pantomime and hosting and a sporadic approach, it means that
Mm.
I can go, well, what is it that I really have to give to contribute? What can I do that would make an impact in a way that only I can? Because then by going down that niche, it means that I'm able to create something that I feel would utilize more of myself as
Mm.
opposed to just being a general bit of creativity.
So you prefer like mastering like one specific art or like niche rather than just like being all over the place.
Yeah, I just
Is
feel so
that-
if you take like let's take Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis has done a lot of things, but we know him mainly for the film acting, the method acting that he does, because he's able to take that one direction a bit further. He's able to scale it. Now we all, as actors, look, we all believe we can do everything, right? That's part of the trade. But if you walk into an audition room, let's say, because I know I've done casting myself. Let's say that you're in front of me for a musical, right? I
Yeah.
want to know that you are a specialist in musical theatre. If I get an actor that goes, I can do everything, well, why should I turn to you then?
Hmm.
What is it that you, what is your brand? What is it that you bring to the table? I want someone who goes, I do musicals. You hire me because the problem that I solve is that you need to captivate audiences and have an actor that is able to day in, day out sustain that level of vocal capability.
Mm.
So I want to be able to become the go-to person for certain something where you go, okay, I've got this type of event or I've got this type of film. Maybe I'm looking for a comedy actor who has this type of, not typecasting, but this kind
Mm.
of brand, if you will. I look at him and I
Yeah,
go,
I get
that's
it.
my
Yeah.
guy. I want to be able to step into that role and solve your problem.
Yeah, so it's like basically when there's a specific role, then you're the first person that comes to the casting director's mind to like be put into that role. So like that's sort of an expertise. I think like yeah, that's a good way to look at it. Like yeah, I mean, that's something that makes me think like when you say that like mastery versus typecasting. So I'm just like I think that's a different sort of a debate. But yeah, what do you think?
Well, one thing that I'd advocate is that as you go through your career, like, look, I'm not trying to be a guru, a master, or an expert here. I'm just a guy who's talking about his experiences. I would
Definitely.
say
Yeah.
that when you start out, you want to do a bit of everything. You want to go, oh, acting's fun, creating is fun. I'm gonna make a short film. I'm gonna do I want to be in a musical. I want to be on stage. I want to do radio. I want to do film. I want to do corporate. I want to do role play. I want to do murder mystery. I want to do children's entertainment. I want to do
Everything.
everything. Yeah, great. Okay, there's so much you can do. That's why the working actor, there is always something out there as long as you can vision it, right? But
Yeah.
then the thing is, once you do that, you start to realize there are some things that you just walk into. They just happen to fit you a bit naturally compared to others, and other things you really have to work at. So then you go, oh, I think I can carve out a niche for myself here. I think I can start to understand why you would choose me over everyone else that
Mm.
wants to do that. And then you explore that, and then you start to develop from doing it and doing it and doing it. You start to realize, hang on a minute, the way my personality is, my genetic makeup, my interests, my skills, my experiences,
Mm.
they all start to funnel towards something that makes you rather niche. I'll give you an example of this. I've got a friend of mine, and he started out doing children's entertainment,
Mm-hmm.
and then he started doing corporate entertainment, and then he started to do cruise ship entertainment. And
Mm.
then he thought, well, hang on a minute. I do cruise ships a lot. I work with children a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Um, why don't I create my own kind of talks, if you will, on cruise ship, my own entertainment show, if you will, that I'll be able to then sell to the other cruise ship companies. And so what he's done is he's carved out a niche where he now does that one thing that most people wouldn't even think of doing. And
Mm.
therefore, he's got the market because he can just go to a cruise ship
That's
company and
cool.
go, I have this. No one else has thought of doing this. It's tried and tested. Look, my career shows that I've worked in children's theatre for a long time. I've worked in cruise ships for a long time. I know what I'm doing. I'm a safe pair of hands. So therefore, if he came to me of that, I'd go, well, obviously you're the person for the job. And so by
Yeah.
starting out by doing lots of different things, taking the skills from different areas, you start to go from a spiral, a circle of lots of different approaches to eventually a very small thing that you do better than everyone else. You become the
Yeah.
go-to guy that can solve their problem.
That's yeah, no, that's pretty amazing. I think like that's a great advice for people starting out in the industry. But yeah, no, thank you so much for chatting with me today, and it was really nice learning about your experience and getting to know about like this online game show stuff. But yeah, I think we don't have a lot of time left. But
Sorry about
before
that.
no, I'm sorry, but before I let you go, I do have to play a little game with you. Like that's the rule.
Let's
If you're on
go.
here, you have to. So
Yeah.
it's called Two Truths and a Lie. Everyone knows. It's basically you tell me two truths and a lie about yourself, and I'm gonna try to guess which one's which.
Cool. Okay, here we go. So I spent time in a jungle with a tribe learning how adults act like children.
Mhm.
I did a bungee jump for a film, and we had to retake it because I wasn't meant to swear when I come off of the bungee jump, and I kept on
Okay.
doing that.
Mhm.
And also I created no, I want to change that. I was in a theatrical production where I was praised for playing a dead body.
Okay. Oh, that's a tough one, but maybe it's the tribe one,
Is that the lie?
the first one. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it is not the lie.
Not? Oh, wow. That okay. So I think like then okay, now that's like we've eliminated okay, that's but that's very interesting. Okay, let me say. So is it the last one? The dead body one?
No, unfortunately, that's also true. So
Wow.
the bungee
That
jump is the
sounded
lie.
so real the way you said it.
Do you know why? It's because I did do a bungee jump, and when I went to jump, suddenly your body locks. And I'd already mentally prepared for this, but your body goes into fight or flight. And so the guy had to gently push me, and I didn't buy the video because all you see me goes, "Oh!" and then swearing
Oh,
all the way down. So it's just
okay.
good memory there.
Fair enough. Like the way you said it sounded very realistic. So, well, I
Thank you very
completely suck
much.
at guessing stuff, so sorry about that. But anyway, it was really, really nice talking to you. Thank you so much for being on here, and thank you so
My
much,
pleasure.
guys,
Thank you.
for listening. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, ta-da!